Hello everybody and welcome back to the CSW Invitational Tournament. We find ourselves here in a quarterfinal matchup and let's get straight to the mulligan phase.
I must protect the wild.
I will fight with honor.
We see a couple staple paladin cards coming out for BMW. Wynntense at the top of the screen has... I see that he again has that Stalag card. I always forget that he likes to keep it in his Ramp Druid deck, and it always kind of scares me, because I'm usually on the other side of the table playing against it. We see a Zombie Chow come out, very nice mulligan. Actually, for both players, we see the Zombie Chow. So this will be a very low damage anti-minion opening to the game. He wisely goes face with it. A couple fast-paced turns, but we do see that Wynntense has just drawn his Innervate. Which could really accelerate the action so far in this game.
Where shall I strike?
Okay. It's the Innervate used as well as the coin. But we have a 4/6 taunt and really no way immediately for this paladin to get through it. That Knife Juggler and Muster for Battle will be pretty useful in a couple turns, but at this very moment, unfortunately, he may just have to pass.
Let me think.
Although if he does, I expect you'll see the Zombie Chow trade into the Shielded Minibot, and the True of the Claw may just rest instead of trying to take out the other Zombie Chow on this side of the board. It's an interesting decision because I don't know how much scouting either player has done. BMW, I believe, has only had a single match on stream at this point. Okay, he plays the Mind Control tech. Does not steal a minion, but it is a bit of board presence. Ooh, okay, trading in the Shielded Minibot, bringing that Druid down to a 4/4. That swipe drawn by Wynntense kind of makes things a little bit interesting now. What else? He's also sitting on his Shade of Naxxramas, the Emperor Thaurissan, and of course the aforementioned Stalag. It is, as they're upside down, a bit difficult to see. Alright, the Chow does get traded. Ooh. Taking out a little of its own to get that 3/3 off the board. Or technically 3/1. And we see Consecrate. A little bit too late. I could have really made that last turn a bit more interesting. But we do see still one turn away from that Juggler Muster for Battle combo. Chooses to pop a dude, and I expect nothing else because otherwise you would want that Knife Juggler first. Oh, Ragnaros drawn by Wynntense. Another Innovate, or with the reduced mana cost from Emperor Thaurissan, that could really be an early and a scary Ragnaros. Here comes the Consecrate, Zombie Chow off the board. Wynntense returns to 28 health. And there he is. I can't recall if we've ever seen in the CSW tournament Thaddeus actually hitting the board, but there's a lot of fear for that. Tyrion in hand, that is excellent considering that the Druid does not have any of his keepers or any other way to silence at the moment. Here comes the Muster for Battle combo. Ooh. Oh wow. Holy. Well, that was some pretty good knife juggling. And with the Stalag and Fugin or Forgin, depending how, I didn't play WoW at that point, so I don't remember how the name is actually supposed to be pronounced. The first minion to die is the one that, you know, does not need to be silenced. He can just die. It doesn't really matter. It's the second one, though, that you want to make sure, if you're going to kill him, you want him to be silenced. Otherwise, you will get the 11-11 Thaddeus, and unless you're prepared with the big game hunter or some way to steal it, you're going to have a bad time. A timely antique heal bot coming out for the Paladin, and yeah, immediately throws it down on the board. And there's the hero power. He could have played the shielded mini bot there, not really much of a reason to, other than to curve out nicely. He was kind of running out of cards. Dr. Boom. These big minions have been hard for BMW to deal with so far, and I feel like it's just going to get more and more difficult for him. There is potential. Okay, good. In general, if you plan to kill a Boombot, and you have a 3-3 minion on the board, you generally want to attack first, just in case he gets hit by a high roll bomb and dies before acting. So we see the 1-1 minions are gone. Tyrion hits the board. Let's see how Wynntense wants to deal with this one. Tie game actually in health. We have seen the Paladin has used a single heal bot. I don't know what else is in his deck, so there's a very good chance he has other heals at his disposal as well. We do see that True Silver, which will technically give him 4 HP. You see, with that second Innervate in hand from Wynntense, it really does, not in this particular hand, but it is going to open up some pretty scary turns. I don't know what he's going to do immediately, though. He does decide to play that Ragnaros. Let's see. Ooh, face damage. Not terrible in this case. Again, we see BMW not quite with an answer. He always seems to, if you had like one more small minion on the board, he would generally be in a better place. He has the option of suffering 7 face damage to attack that Dr. Boom. I don't expect that's what we'll see. Most likely he will trade in the 3-3, and he's considering it. And he plays the Piloted Shredder. So he's going to get full mileage out of this Light's Justice. It's a pretty effective curve, especially considering that the Ragnaros is there. You've got a taunt up. Considering that I can see Wynntense's hand, I know he doesn't have the Force of Nature Savage Roar combo. So there's no worries immediately that you're at 13 hit points. Lotheb not really going to come into play this turn, considering BMW's hand. Here's which cards are in this deck that could really turn things around for the Paladin. Ooh, okay. Not great for the Quartermaster, but for overall tempo, it is good to lose that 1-1 instead of something bigger. I like this play. He just drew the Sylvanas. Wisely test the water, see what you're going to draw.
I have no time for games.
And instead of putting out the True Silver Champion, he puts out another minion for another potential Ragnaros target, and then unlocking the ability to Quartermaster something next turn as well. Wild Growth to draw a card. Ooh, okay, so half of the combo. He Can use that this turn to kill the Tyrion, but that doesn't win him all that much else. Even with the innervate, there's nothing he can immediately follow it up with. Thorsen, not a bad idea, just to reduce the cost of that combo.
I see.
Okay. I like this too.
Where shall I strike?
Making it a little more... Okay. Yeah, probably the best thing to be still in there. Okay, he does have the Aldor Peacekeeper. Oh! This is lethal. That True Silver Champion about to come out. And a good game for BMW.
Well played.
It's always impressive to see a new player come in and steal around from a former champion.
Brawl versus Malfurion.
I must protect the wild.
Here we are in game 2. This is the Conquest format, so BMW's Paladin does take a back seat. He's already won. He gets to kick back and relax now. We see his Shaman coming out for a chance to steal another round from the former champion. In this mulligan phase, he chooses to keep the Fireguard Destroyer and the Feral Spirit. Plenty of overload to go around, but he has that coin to offset it a little bit. Meanwhile, we see Wynntense has half of his Roy combo. He has Fugin or Foigan. I will figure it out one day. Mulligans them back and gets 2 Innervates and a Druid. This could be a very interesting turn 1. He top decks the Sludge Belcher. Chooses not to play either. Again with the Zombie Chow for BMW's first turn. Generally a good play, except against Ramp Druid it's not always too useful. Although hey, if Druid can do nothing until turn 4, that's about 6 free damage that you might be able to eke out. Coined Feral Spirits. So filling his board with 2/3 minions. Here comes one Innervate. And he chooses to stop there. Playing the Sludge Belcher, very good against these 2/3s. Alright, that Rock Biter. Mousing over every minion on the board, including himself. Ultimately goes for the Belcher. Not a bad play from BMW. He maintains board control, gets that Zombie Chow out now while the minimal healing is not such a big deal. And a very, very early Thorsen, reducing 3 cards in hand. Does now make 2 of them playable next turn and then some change. BMW, meanwhile, loading his hand up with fire. He gets the option of hexing or overloading. Or maybe just totem and pass. He chooses to hex. Probably a good decision before that really gets out of hand. Wynntense with the Wild Growth, something he probably would have liked a couple turns ago. Chooses to play that reduced cost Druid of Claw in taunt form. So all about the taunts so far from this Druid. A pretty good roll on the Fireguard Destroyer. Comes out as a 6/6. For a 4 mana, that is some good value. Technically 5 mana if you want to count the overload. Wynntense drawing the 2 cards. Filling his hand up. I bet he wishes that the Emperor Thorsen was still around, because this would be pretty darn strong at this point. BMW in a tough situation. chooses to lose 4 health on the Destroyer and play another one that gets the highest roll possible. Comes out at a 7-6. The other option that I saw in hand was the Doomhammer, with 2 swings to take out the Druid at the very costly amount of 8 health. But he makes the wise decision. Minion takes a little damage, stays alive, maintains his board presence. And unless a spell-powered swipe comes out, he's in a pretty good spot at the moment. It's uncommon, at least generally on the ranked ladder, to see a shaman that brings Alakir and Doomhammer. Generally, you would pick one or the other and go for the Flame Tongue or Rockbiter devastating combo. Or, I guess, in the case of Alakir, both, if you can swing it. No pun intended.
Time waits for no one.
He does, despite the overload, he will be able to use this Fire Elemental next turn and deal 3 damage needed to off that 5-3. Wynntense, again, choosing to draw 2 more cards. So that's both Ancients of Lore down, but a lot of potential now in hand. A well-timed Flame Tongue Totem. I do like this. He's got the potential to clear the board here. I expect that's what we'll see. Okay, the placement of those minions made me think that he had something else in hand. Or in mind, rather. Or both. Alright, Wynntense pulling out the swipe. Gets a zombie chow of his own that I don't know if he's going to play, but now would be the time if you're going to do it.
What to do?
Come to think of it, he could realistically play any single card from his hand. There's a couple combos, none of them very good though.
Time waits for no one.
Alright, he does play the Stalag. And the Piloted Shredder. Curves out nicely. BMW, what are you going to do? You're going to go for face. He has lethal. I didn't spot it. But that's not important because he has. So there, a devastating 29 to 0 health. So now the Shaman is off the board. Let's see what BMW's third deck is, as he could potentially take a 3-0 sweep against Wynntense.
Gul'dan versus Gul'dan.
Round 3 is underway, and it is a Warlock mirror match. Wynntense choosing not to hang on to that Druid and try to get another victory immediately. He's going to try something else. It is the handlock that he is very familiar with. He's very proficient on this class with this particular setup. Let's see what BMW brings to the table in his very own Warlock. It seems to be another handlock. He does have that Twilight Drake in hand. Also the Molten Giant. Second Molten Giant. Not exactly what you want to see at the beginning of the match, especially when you're at full health. And also we see Wynntense starts the game with not only the Dark Bomb, but also the Big Game Hunter. So any Mountain Giants that come out early will probably get shut down. Speaking of, alright, a couple life taps, a couple passes. Not too much going on, but at least these are quick turns. Will he coin something out? Nope. Passes without life tapping, doesn't want to go burning cards. We see a Drake come out on behalf of Wynntense. And the Mountain Giant out for BMW. Will this big game hunter come out? If so, he could actually taunt up here with the Sun Fury Protector.
So many possibilities.
You're right, Gul'dan. There are so many possibilities.
I've got the beat.
And he pulls the trigger. Will he tap? Will he taunt? Oh yeah! He can also play this Watcher. And he does. Alright, advantage Wynntense. Sludge Belcher to slow things down a bit. Oh, and here's the Owl that could potentially activate that Watcher. That's pretty timely. You know, I just noticed that the Watcher's kind of hovering over a Griffin. Is that a Griffin? Let's say a lot of attacking, some tapping, some healing. A very, very action-packed turn for Wynn. On the heels of just a lot of life tapping. So we see now complete board advantage over there, but in a handlock match, get the Shadow Flare and it kind of resets things. Will this be a Sylvanas turn? Or does BMW have something else in mind? Still potential with this coin. He chooses to play his second Sludge Belcher already. Good use of the Mortal Coil, though, especially seeing that there are Earthen Ring Farseers in this deck. Or at least the one. Second Watcher comes into hand. Oh, okay. We see the Owl coming out just to nullify the Sludge Belcher. BMW taken down to 17 health. And the timely appearance of the heal bot. It's like he knew my people need me. Meanwhile, in BMW's hand, I failed to mention he did draw Dr. Boom. He's got a Hellfire. He's now in Giant range, actually, and can begin playing them this turn. Also, he can life tap and still play a Giant. You don't want to do it at this very moment because you will overdraw yourself. But it's possible. What do you do on this turn, though? I think Drake.
So many possibilities.
Play that Twilight Drake. You can play your coin, put the Defender of Argus out, give that Belcher another taunt, make him useful again. Right now he probably feels that.
Almost out of time.
He does coin. He plays the Giant. Doing some math, knowing that the Hellfire would take him into that range. Well done, BMW. Mr. Wynntense. How are you going to answer this? I think that's Ragnaros in hand. He's got a couple answers. Still got those Taunt Givers. There's a Siphon Soul there, actually, which would deal with this Giant nicely. It would put him out of range of playing his own Giant next turn, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It seems really BMW has a handful of minions, and Wynntense has a handful of answers to those minions.
Almost out of time.
Really thinking about this one.
So many possibilities.
Does choose to play Ragnaros, so getting a bit risky. Ooh, the risk might pay off though, because he could technically win this with a Dark Bomb next turn, no matter how many taunts do go up. I would have to expect we're going to see this Giant come out. Probably going to see an anti-kill bot this turn. Perhaps a Siphon Soul. Just clear the board. But you do put yourself at risk there. As we said, that Dark Bomb itself, some combination with Hellfire, which also... Excuse me. Hellfire also appears to be in hand. A second Dark Bomb could come out. A lot of ways that BMW could lose if he doesn't play this heal bot.
Almost out of time.
Justifiably so, he also lets this time count down. It is going to be the heal bot. Ooh, no it's not. Alright, so that is almost certainly going to be game Wynntense. Let's see. Does he want to go out in style?
Well played.
He does. He's going to Dark Bomb. He's going to Siphon Soul. And he's going to attack with the drill. Alright, Wynntense wins one back.
Gul'dan versus Jaina.
You asked for it.
Getting right back into it. Here we are in round 4 of this quarterfinals matchup. We see again BMW on his Warlock. He doesn't have a choice. Wynntense, having taken a win with his own Warlock, and now opts to switch to the Mage, which is the only class we have not seen yet. To take this entire set, he has to win here with his Mage, and then he has to win again with his Druid, which has not been having great luck so far tonight. It looks actually, based on the cards, this could be a Freeze Mage. I'm looking forward to this match. I do enjoy Freeze Mage, especially in the tournament setting. As frustrating as it is, I just revel in seeing players get shut down. Or stalled out, depending. In CSW history, we have had a couple games go to fatigue. It doesn't happen too often. And there's usually a priest involved. So we see the Mad Scientist coming out early. Keeps the coin in hand.
Job's done.
Handlock taps. Handlock does what Handlock does. Arcane Intellect. Drawing him a Fireball and the Frost Nova. Molten Giant coming out for BMW. Well timed. Let's see how Mr. Wynn wants to deal with it. He's got a couple potential freezes. He's got a Fireball, although I don't expect we'll see that. The Doomsayer. Combination of the two. Using that coin, he could freeze the Giant and play the Doomsayer. Or I guess he could do it without the coin if he wants to use one of his Ice Lances. He does choose to Fireball. He's going to trade in the Mad Scientist, pull a secret, remove a Giant from the game, and the board is clear once again. BMW, I guess I'm wrong. I thought he might be leaning toward that Sludge Belcher. He did play 2 very early last game, but maybe he's thinking better. Maybe it's time to change the playstyle a bit. And wait until he actually needs them. As it is with the Handlock, oh, we get 2 secrets now coming out for Mr. Wynn. Mortal Coiled, both players will draw a card. It's fair. And we see BMW actually at a full hand. Plays the Sun Fury on a single taunt and does not tap because he doesn't want to burn a card next turn. That also does test. This is not a mirror entity secret. Wynntense choosing the ping, probably setting up for a blizzard if a couple more minions hit the board. I think he's sitting on a Cold Light Oracle and wondering whether he actually wants to play it here.
What to do?
It might be good.
Do.
It would cause BMW to burn 2 cards. Other than that, though, there's not a whole lot to think about. There's only 2 damage to come out, because now that this Ancient Watcher's taunted up, you don't expect it's going to get silenced unless he's really forced into a sticky situation. The Drake gets drawn. Attack pops the Ice Barrier. Freeze Mage staple, just to make the game take longer. Oh, this is great for the handlock. Reducing the cost on everything. That's 8 cards, or 9 cards, excuse me, getting reduced. Opening up a lot more combo potential, some unexpected turns that are not normally possible. I guess unless you Nefarian and play against a Druid. Wynntense thinking about the Frost Nova. Possibly a Doomsayer combo. This will, however, let Thorsan reduce the cost for another turn. At the very least. Oh, choosing the pink face. Trusting that the Doomsayer will survive this turn. I don't think it will, especially with that Shadow Flame and the Dark Bomb in hand. What will you do, BMW?
I wonder.
Interesting.
Almost out of time.
He does silence his own Watcher. I guess the aforementioned sticky situation did happen. He had the potential to silence the Doomsayer. However, if not Mirror Entity, if a duplicate were to come out as a secret for the Mage, he could get a couple of them back, which understandably is something that the Warlock wants to avoid. He loses a taunt, but he plays another taunt as backup. We now see Wynntense still with a lot of freeze options in hand, but not as much removal anymore with that Doomsayer gone. I expect he is running a second Doomsayer, although he hasn't drawn it. He has the option of playing the Arcane Intellect, maybe draw into one. He could just stall for a bit between Blizzard and that second Frost Nova.
What to do? What to do? Time runs out on me.
He's mousing over that Arcane Intellect, but he's running out of time. Choosing perhaps to play the Acolyte and ping it.
Hey, speak to me.
Oh, coining the Blizzard. And he gets it in time. Spectator delay probably making that a bit scarier than it really was. BGH in hand for the Warlock. Could come in handy. Yeah, Alex Straza may need to be shut down quickly.
So many possibilities.
At this point for the handlock, you may start thinking about Healbot. Freeze Mage
So
gets
many
pretty scary around this point in the game,
possibilities.
especially as you get closer and closer to 15 hit points, because that lets Fireball, Frostbolt, or Frostbolts and Ice Lances in some different combination. Blood Mage Thalnos just makes things all the much more scarier, and there's usually a couple Azure Drakes in there for added spell power. Speaking of Drakes, we see this Twilight Drake come out on the board.
I've got the beast in my sights.
And the BGH as well. I'm a bit surprised to see that BGH now, considering that there's probably another Blizzard or maybe even a Flamestrike. It's... Yes, he's kind of playing from behind in terms of health, but the mage will ultimately run out of stalling power, and you do want a couple powerful minions. Meanwhile, this Emperor Thorsen just relaxing on the board, reducing costs more and more and more. Thinking back a couple turns when the mage decided to ping the Warlock's face with his hero power, thinking that the Doomsayer would see his job to the end. Thorsen could be dead by now just from hero powers.
Runs out on me.
He draws a card. Probably not the card he was looking for. What next, Wynntense?
I'll show them. I'll show them all.
Second Mad Scientist comes out. Must be running short on secrets. There's a fireball. But he runs out of time, wasting 5 mana. Ooh. This is close, especially considering if BMW takes the match, he takes the entire set with him. I got that backward. Sets usually come smaller than matches in the hierarchy. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. Hovering over the incredibly reduced cost Defender Vargas. He can nearly play his entire hand this turn. That is pretty excellent. That Molten Giant even has a 3 reduced mana cost. Wow, and choosing to pass, having spent only a single point of mana. Not life tapping to preserve his hit points. He's got a pretty full hand. But Wynntense, unfortunately, has a lethal combo just through spells.
Well played.
There's one Ice Lance. And there's the second Ice Lance. So success from this Freeze Mage. And this is anyone's match. Here we are, CSW fans. Game 5. This determines who advances to the semifinals and who has to sit back and wait until the next turn.
Gul'dan versus Malfurion.
We see, as we know,
I must protect
BMW has his Warlock again,
your soul
trying to
shall be
secure that
mine.
victory. And meanwhile, Wynntense, bringing that Druid back, hoping to get his own W in the scorecard here. BMW opting to keep the Mountain Giant through this mulligan. Pretty good decision. He knows what he's up against with this Druid. Especially considering the Stalag and Fugan threat of Thaddeus. You see Wynntense with a very, very clunky hand up there. Wild Growth most likely to come out here. It does. Gets him a little bit closer to playing those bigger cards. With the Innervate, he can now have
That
what
was a
for him will
mistake.
be on his 5 mana turn. Ooh,
So,
BMW passing before life tapping. That is unfortunate. He does, though, have both of his Giants there, the Sludge Belcher. And with the Coin still in hand, it's not terrible. This time he does life tap. And on the next turn I expect we'll see that Mountain Giant. Everybody's drawing cards this turn. The second Innervate coming out for Wynntense. That is very timely. And he gets his Savage Rogue. Giant down in a quick turn. Piloted Shredder makes things a little bit more interesting here. Probably not coming out this turn. That Sludge Belcher seems like he will do the job, avoiding 8 damage to the face. Or 7. He's got time. He can... Actually, this turn, if he really wants to get crazy, he can play Ragnaros. Not reliable, though. He does go with the taunt. And it's again on BMW's shoulders to figure out how to play through this. He does attack the Belcher, considering playing one of his own. Still with the Twilight Drake and the Molten Giant in hand. Dark Bomb could easily take out this Ooze. Set up some taunts of his own. And he does so in the form of the Sludge Belcher. Wynntense with double roar now. And that Innervate. He's got most of his win conditions in hand. This may be a much, much quicker game than either player expected at the beginning. Ramp Druid and Handlock tend to be long, drawn-out fights. Knocking big minions against each other. Wynntense having the Keeper in hand for emergency silence. He's got that piloted Shredder that he hasn't played yet.
Time waits for no one.
Nothing that really curves out that well this turn, but it's not to say he has a lack of options. And between the Ooze and the Hero Power, there are no more taunts on the Warlock side of the board. He has the potential to coin out that Dr. Boom. 8 HP on the Druid side of the board. It's not a bad idea. He could also... we see this Dark Bomb then. And the Mountain Giant. He does play them in the recommended order, however, not important in this case. He burns 1 mana nonetheless. Even trade. And Ragnaros again, coming out early, doing some face damage. And with that double roar, this really putting the Warlock in a scary position. He doesn't have any Molten Giants to capitalize on the 14 health that he currently resides. BMW still holding on to that Twilight Drake at the moment. Has 9 cards in hand. One of them being a coin. It's really losing its value the longer this goes on. But here we see it come out. To play the Defender of Argus that hopefully keeps him alive for a couple more turns. Ooh, well-timed Wrath.
I must safeguard.
Let's see. There's 1 silence. Oh, this is a good swipe play. I almost missed that. Seeing how things play out. That Lotheb in hand for BMW may really come through to save the day. If he can time it to prevent the double roar, he could win the entire tournament. He sends the 4 damage to the face. Clears the board. He's setting up now. He really wants that double roar. BMW still has the Sunfury Protector, so he can throw up some taunts. And I really think he might need to. Shadow Flame has good synergy with that Sylvanas in hand, but he cannot do that this turn. Actually, he can't do it next turn either.
I wonder.
It's unfortunate, but he may need to actually play the Ancient Watcher with the Sunfury Protector and spend the Dark Bomb just to reduce the board a bit.
Shields up.
Oh, you know, actually, I was just talking about that Lotheb and ignored it in my own suggestions here. It does kind of make things trickier for the Druid. He may still have lethal, he just has to get a little more creative now. Innervate certainly nullified this turn. And indeed, Malfurion, what to do? The Druid can afford to just do nothing this turn. Hero power, get a bit of armor. Might not be worth playing that Zombie Chow.
Time waits for
Giving
no
health back to the Warlock at this point. And at 31 effective health, he's really in no risk of dying immediately. He does, however, need some way to get rid of that taunt. He chooses to trade his board, draw a card. And now he armors up. This is getting close. BMW no longer has any taunt givers. He does have a timely heal bot once again. I believe that's happened a couple times for him, and it's well worth it. Choosing not to life tap, reducing the armor. Ooh, with both Druids of the Claw.
Where shall I strike?
Puts one in taunt form. Alright, so slowly chipping away. Ah, there's one of the Molten Giants. Of course, now that he's healed up back to 16, where it's not as economical to play anymore. Goodbye, Healbot. You've done well. And now the Dr. Boom comes out. So, pretty strong turn, swinging the game back into his favor. There is no force of nature yet for the Druid. He will not try to steal the game this turn. Ooh, he does choose to innervate though.
Where shall I strike?
And I believe another taunt. Yes. Good call on his part. Does use the innervate, but he reduces the cost of both Savage Roars, so effectively he has a permanent innervate on those. Siphon Soul comes in at a very, very timely point in the game. He eliminates Thorsan. There will be no more value. Or, let's say, the sale is over. Oh, and a Lothep for the Druid himself.
I've got the beast in my sail.
Based on what's in hand, that's really only shutting down Shadow Flame. Good BGH. And he goes for face, not risking a wild bomb flying at that BGH immediately. Although I don't expect he's going to survive this turn. Ooh, Shadow Flame is played. That works out pretty well, actually. And the Druid drops to 20 for the first time this game. Fair is fair. We see the Druid's very own Dr. Boom coming into play. Ooh, low roll on the bomb. Not what he wants to see at this point. Oh,
I
unfortunately,
have no time for games.
the favor is not returned. For lack of really better options this play, he does put that Sylvanas out. I think it's too little too late though, because I believe this Druid has lethal. He may need one more minion on the board. I'm not entirely certain. He's doing the math. Meanwhile, if he does survive this turn, BMW really doesn't have too much to offer on his next. Unless he top decks something amazing, he may be forced to play that giant, but I think we're seeing the double roar. That will be lethal, now that the numbers are actually boldly in front of us. And congratulations! Wynntense reverse sweeps, dropping the first two games but coming back, winning with all three of his decks in a row. BMW, you played well, but unfortunately, you are not going to advance. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you next time.